More red flags surfacing regarding the purported Butler assassination attempt back in 2024. There's now a lawsuit against the Trump administration, against the United States government, by people who say they were shot at the Butler, Pennsylvania event. They're suing the United States government for their injuries, essentially bringing a personal injury case where they're seeking monetary damages and they want discovery into what went down. Pennsylvania men who were shot during the Trump rally in Butler are now suing the United States government. Obviously, unfortunately, Trump is running it right now. So 2 men who were wounded in the shooting, say they were wounded in the shooting during then presidential candidate Trump's 2024 rally at the Butler Farm Show grounds, are suing the United States. You have James Copenhaver and David Dutch. They were shot during the attempted assassination on July 13, 2024 in Butler. Their attorneys filed a federal lawsuit against the United States for, quote, life-altering physical and emotional injuries, claiming those injuries were a direct result of negligence on the part of the United States Secret Service. Dutch was shot in the stomach, while Copenhaver was shot twice. And it goes on to say that the United States Secret Service was to blame for this event in general. And it says that Thomas Crooks, who was seen acting erratically in the hours before the shooting, could be seen climbing onto the roof of the AGR building and firing 8 shots before being killed by a counter sniper. They say in the lawsuit that agents failed to secure the roof of the AGR building, inadequate, improper lines of communication. The suit references a congressional investigation that's taking place. A spokesperson for the Secret Service told the local press that it does not comment on pending litigation. But what's fascinating when you think about all of this is what's going to happen in the discovery phase right now, because we know that Tom Fitton, who was one of Donald Trump's closest advisors before Trump got into office again, Tom Fitton runs the group Judicial Watch. Fitton, Trump's buddy, sued Trump to get his hands on the records regarding Butler, Pennsylvania. Then when Tom Fitton, through his FOIA lawsuit, got the records, he then put out the records and claimed that there were communications taking place with police and Thomas Crooks before the alleged shooting took place, to which the Trump regime and Trump DOJ and Trump FBI responded by saying Tom Fitton is nothing but clickbait, and these are lies, and these were not communications with police and Thomas Crooks, but that the redacted document actually is purporting to show communications between Crooks, who was the alleged assassin or the attempted assassin, with school teachers regarding the potential incident before. The issue is that even though Tom Fitton got the documents, they were all pretty much fully redacted. They looked like a lot of the Epstein files that we saw, with only, so, you know, whether what Fitton said was in the documents or not, it's certainly hard to tell because the whole document is one gigantic redaction, which also just makes you say, why are you redacting all of this? Like, we are now in, and it's not going to, I get if you want to redact the name of a person or their address or a social security, but what could be the basis that in June 2026, you are redacting these types of police reports regarding Butler? Why wouldn't that be a document that's released public? So as I think about this lawsuit that was just filed, what are they going to even do with discovery? Who's going to sit for depositions? Is this a way to learn more? Do ultimately these individuals realize that there's never going to, that the Trump regime is just never going to produce documents, so you could try to induce an early settlement here? And then I also think about Trump suing the federal government for $10 billion in his individual capacity saying a data leak is worth $10 billion when of course it isn't. And it was under his 2018, 2019 administration. So now do litigants come into court and point to Trump and say, why don't we get $10 billion? Why don't we get $5 billion? If Trump claims his damage is worth $1.8 billion, what do we do? So how does this impact? So it raises a lot of questions that there's this lawsuit regarding the Butler incident. I want to bring in Harry Litman from Talking Feds YouTube, Talking Feds Substack. And so, Harry, it is interesting that you have this lawsuit filed. In a lawsuit, you're entitled to discovery. You have Trump suing the federal government separately, and does Trump look at this and go, maybe I'll sue the federal government for this? Maybe that's my next $10 billion lawsuit.
Yeah. Look, you can say, as in all of these, mistakes were made. And that's often the kind of springboard for some lawsuit, people who want to be able, if nothing else, to embarrass the government, which does have some settlement value. But remember what happened here. It was really stunning how this guy, the actual assailant, got a clean sight from the roof, and a single shot onto the president is remarkable and atrocious and needs to be looked into. So now enter these guys who did get shot, and they want to say, look, we want to figure out, there were screw ups here, and everyone understands that there were. So they want to get the communications, and these communications, Ben, were not just within the federal government. They were already from the feds to the state on the scene. What's going on? That kind of stuff. And that vitiates, in certain instances, the what would otherwise be a protection based on federal law for some of the communications. But as is often the case, the original sort of cause of action transmutes here into a discovery battle. You're totally right to be focused on that as what's going to be coming up now. And you're going to see, I think, these plaintiffs want to know tell us about the advanced planning Secret Service, and it sure was incomplete. Or what about the communications on the scene? Was anybody disciplined here? What happened when they first recognized, oh shit, we really messed up here because somebody had a clean line of sight. Those are the sorts of things that, would have been just ancillary to everything that's going on. But now when there are people who are genuinely injured, that can be the sort of focus. And this is going to quickly, I think, devolve into a discovery battle. As you say, the feds are gonna try to withhold quite a lot, and they're gonna say there's executive privilege or national security objections. Maybe, maybe not. It's well known that they are overly liberal is one word you could use. They really are slap around the title of national security or other things, and that's going to be the sort of this whole big thing about the shooting and the screw ups of the Secret Service. I think is going to reduce to specific discovery battles, and the plaintiffs basically in these things hope to get a kind of a leverage. Hope that the feds are ordered to turn stuff over that they wish they didn't, and hope that that forms the basis of some kind of decent settlement. So it'll be one of the many cases. I mean, you're very experienced at this, that when it's actually a question of what's being litigated in court, it hardly looks like what happened on the ground at the time. But lawyers who know what they're doing will be putting pressure exactly on. Give us this information, including the stuff that shows how you really screwed up badly by letting this guy have a clean line of sight onto the president.
More questions being raised, more lawsuits being filed. And one of the ways that I think the public would say, okay, I at least know more, and I feel more comfortable with this information is release the medical records from the Butler hospital. And look, if it's something deeply private and embarrassing, like we're not saying like release that, we are saying though, you are the president. This was a public event, you could redact certain things, but overall release the thrust of it. So we know what happened. You can't just throw us breadcrumbs of like Ronnie Jackson, who like writes a letter that looks like you wrote it. Like, that's not cool. And then when it comes to the underlying report that the FBI has, just release the FBI reports and don't redact all of them. And let's see what happened. If indeed Thomas Crooks was speaking with the teacher, then just show it and unredact it. I don't need to know the teacher's last name, but like release the documents so that people go, got it. That's what happened. That's what happened. We all believe and know that Thomas Crooks was a right-wing guy and a MAGA guy from a MAGA family. That's just a fact. You don't need to cover that up. That's if we can handle all of that information and process it. But when the Trump regime tries to take that to carve narratives and say, oh, the left tried to kill him, and this was, the same people going after Charlie Kirk and this one and that one, when we know that Charlie Kirk was a right-wing guy from a right-wing family, that was a gun-toting, Trump-supporting type of family, and the guy at Mar-a-Lago was was as well. Yeah. And so it's like, now when you try to twist this thing, we all go, there must be something you're hiding. This is not how normal people behave in these situations. And so I just call for true transparency in this lawsuit about all of these situations, even with the one in the White House Correspondence. We know the treatment of the guy, Cole, was so bad that a federal judge had to intervene and say, why are you not letting him even speak to his lawyer? And so that makes people go, why are you not letting the guy speak to his lawyer? Why are you doing that? Let the guy speak to his lawyer. If the guy's found guilty, the guy's found guilty. Why are you putting your thumb on the scale unless you're hiding something? Harry, I'll give you the final word.
And there's an irony here, because each of these episodes Trump exploits for all it's worth to try to say, see, this happened. See, there was this problem. We must have the ballroom. We must have it tomorrow. We must have it for security. So he wants to use what happened in these various events, including the failures of process and of law enforcement personnel, to make, certain big points. But then his lawyers, that is DOJ, will be retreating to, oh no, executive privilege, oh no, national security, and a really aggressive effort to keep all the information under wraps when it comes to someone who's trying to do something else with these events. So we have a little kind of theme of hypocrisy here as well. Again, nothing new in these times.
Everybody, make sure you subscribe to Harry Litman's YouTube channel. It's called Talking Feds. So as soon as this video ends, search Talking Feds. And then in Harry's next video, tell him that Ben said hi, so we know that you went over there. Thanks, Harry.
Thank you, Ben.
And everyone hit subscribe here as well. New Meidas merch. Head to store.MeidasTouch.com today and get yourself the best pro-democracy gear and show your support. That's store.MeidasTouch.com.